Hi, welcome to Film Stash. My name is Douglas Campbell. Well, it's that time of year again, I suppose. I put on the old face paint, I go to the movies, and I watch Wicked. More specifically, the film adaptation of the second act of the hit Broadway musical Wicked, which was based on the 1995 novel Wicked by Gregory Maguire, which was based on the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz, which was based on the silent era movies of The Wizard of Oz, based on the 1900 book The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank. Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this was a film that I have been struggling with for the last couple days. At this point, I've seen the movie twice, and across both times I've seen it, my perspective on it has shifted up and down like a roller coaster. It's wildly different from when I initially saw it, but not too different. And it took me a couple days to finally form a solid opinion. So this is just a heads up, this will be a spoiler-filled review. So if you don't want to be spoiled on Wicked, you haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, I'd say skip out on this video now. But I would give this film about a low, solid 7 out of 10. There were plenty of good things that I think people who like the original film will enjoy, but I think for a conclusion, it was a significant step down. But there's enough in it to recommend to people. So my first time seeing it, I went in with a full set of expectations, basically a darker chapter. I was expecting it to be the Wizard of Oz story, but told exclusively through Elphaba's perspective. And I walked out of it not a fan. I was not a fan. As a conclusion, it didn't fully stick the landing. It certainly had quite a bit of flaws. But the things that I liked about it, I liked from the first movie. I still liked Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande as Elphaba and Glinda. I think Oz, even though the colors were significantly muted, it was beautifully realized on screen. Although I think with this film, there was significantly more color despite it being the darker chapter of the two. A lot of the music was decent. The choreography, while not as strong as the first act, I think it was still pretty well done for the most part. And after how strongly the original film ended, with defying gravity, implying like this darker chapter, and all the other things that I mentioned before, I was excited for a full year. I was like ready for this thing. But the things that I wanted, I didn't really get. I mean, I kind of got, but also not really. I liked enough of the arc between Elphaba and Glinda, but when it got to the Oz stuff, a lot of the stuff felt super rushed, and the story was not as tight as the first film. It was a tragedy on the fall of a friendship, and so that felt super tight. To keep it plain and simple, something felt missing. So when I went behind my friend's back to watch Wicked that Friday, and then we eventually all agreed to watch it that same Sunday, I was not looking forward to revisiting this film again. But I decided to leave my expectations that I set upon myself originally at the door this time. And surprisingly, my opinion flipped on it. Not like the house that landed on Nessa, but my opinion was a bit more positive.
Hey everybody, so unfortunately due to a transferring issue, pretty much like parts of my review, they're going to be filmed back right here in Film Stash Studio. Yeah, thanks InShot. Thanks. It was a big pain in the ass for the last couple days, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to work with what I got here. So one of the things that I did like about this film, seeing it for a second time, is that it did focus a lot more on the Glinda and Elphaba relationship. And one of the things that I thought was really cool, ultimately, it is about both characters finding agency. In the first act of Wicked, Elphaba finds her agency and learns to ignore what other people think. And then in Act 2, it's pretty much the same thing. Glinda is now this figure of Oz, and ultimately that's what's guiding her, is her seeking the approval of the Ozians and Madame Morrible, the wizard, and all of these like political forces that are like driving her and Elphaba apart. But within time, she does learn how to shut these voices out and kind of learn to accept herself. She forms her own agency. And so like seeing that, I thought it was cool. And I think it does ultimately drive home the overarching story that they set up within the first one. These two, they did change themselves for the better. And putting like the Oz stuff aside that I was wanting to see, I think you do get a pretty solid story about friendship.
Don't get me wrong. Like, there were still massive issues with this thing. And for starters, I know this will anger some of the people who were fans of the original show, but not all the songs were great. I mean, look, I don't care if it was in the original Broadway musical. I feel like with some things are better said than sung, and I feel like we're just trying to fill a quota for how much music is in a musical. And likewise with this film that doesn't necessarily need that quota, I feel like a couple of the songs, they just were not it. It takes way too long to get the ball rolling on this main story. And look, I know this is an important part of the overall narrative, but they spent way too much damn time at this damn wedding. And by the time we get past this wedding, like, we're kind of speed running to get to all the Oz stuff. Bach becomes the Tin Man, and Vera becomes the Scarecrow, and and oh, the house falls down! We speed run past all the arcs set up in the initial film, and we kind of scramble together to put all the pieces on the board to barely tell the Wizard of Oz story. And because of that, we get really bizarre character choices. Like, immediately after ruining Glinda's wedding, you have Elphaba and Fiyero get together / hook up, like, almost immediately after. It's, like, really, really jarring. Like, I know they set this shit up in the first film, but it didn't feel that strong enough to justify doing it here. It just kind of happens. Hello, is the chemistry in the room with us? Like, what the hell? Also, Nessa and Bach's, like, arc, it wraps up, like, quickly. Like, so quickly that it just was like, why even bother to tell it? Like, at that point, it's like, maybe just find another way to get to the same conclusion. Or, you know, maybe stretch it out a bit so it does feel more natural. I mean, I guess you needed a reason for Nessa to get crushed. But again, it's just a setup to get to the Oz stuff. You have the house that falls down on her, and you also get the Tin Man. You get a terrifying Tin Man. Like, Jesus fuck.
What I was talking about with the Tin Man, like, he was genuinely really terrifying in this film, just how he came to be. But that also leads to what I'm going to talk about next. With our cast, I'm just not crazy about how much of our characters end up becoming the OG Wizard of Oz cast. It takes this vast world that we've established within 2 movies now, and it just makes it feel super small now. Like, there's not a part of this wondrous world where metal men can just exist, or scarecrows that dance around. No, there's really no magic in Oz. It's only the fascists who have magic, and Elphaba. And if everybody is significant, then nobody is significant. I think with the plot and how they sort of condense everything together, and it kind of is rushed and not fully as satisfying as it could be, I feel like the only way you could tell it in a satisfying manner is if you kind of stretched it out to 3 films. You know, like Hobbit Trilogy, this shit, I don't know. And to be fair to the filmmakers, I'm not putting this all on them, because really, if you look at it, this is just Act 2 of the Wicked show. But I think this kind of shows the weakness of sticking to a source like so closely. Either something gets way too clunky, or not enough is explained and it goes by way too fast. It doesn't fully translate well. And I'm sure if they weren't beholden to the material, they might have changed like a significant amount of things to make it more satisfying as a movie, but at the same time, would any of the Broadway people really watch it? But despite everything I said, I still think there's enough satisfying things in this film, namely how they conclude Glinda and Elphaba's arc. And ultimately, that's what most people show up to these movies to see, is just these 2 characters at play. And so, like, I think it works enough. What I'm more curious about, like, moving forward is just the legacy that these 2 films will have now. As we all know, the internet will eventually call everything cringe. Doesn't matter how popular you are, you will be cringe. And that weird backlash, it only comes here faster and faster with how our media consumption is today. And that's always fascinated me, the speed in which, like, we come to different consensus. I've always been curious just how our contemporary media will be seen like 5, 10, 15, like 20 years from now. For example, when I left the theater, like, our group of friends, like, we were pretty divided on this thing. One person outright hated it, one loved it, I learned to like it, and weirdly enough, like, 2 people who did not like the original film, like, they liked this film even more. Like, that's not the biggest margin in the world, but all things considered, like, I got a feeling like a bunch of other people will be split on this 2-part adaptation for years to come. And I haven't really felt this way about a cinematic 2-parter since It Chapter 2 and how much that disappointed me. So it's entirely possible, like, years down the line, people might not even care to watch the Wicked franchise because of Part 2 and how much it did not follow through. Like, I think the overall message is it might like bring it together fine, and people might learn to appreciate it more over time. Another option I could potentially see happening, I mean, there's a new show that's coming out. Apparently it's doing really well right now. So all things considering, that might be the direction that Wicked is taking. If you think that Universal isn't done with Wicked, like, you're crazy. These movies are making so much money. How could they not, like, do anything with it? While there's no material left on the Broadway show, the film basically ends with the Grimmery finally working for Glinda as she's sort of looking out into the horizon. You get the implication that Elphaba's looking back. But with Universal testing out, like, a Wicked attraction, this just screams what Disney did when they acquired 20th Century Fox and they put in Avatar Land. You don't start working on theme park attractions for two relatively big movies at the time. No, you do this with a franchise. We're gonna get more Wicked movies. And as I mentioned before, I think they left the door open enough to do so. There's so many avenues you could go with this thing. But will it be as satisfying without Cynthia Erivo or Ariana Grande? People will be talking about this for quite some time. I think there's enough good in this film to check it out if you didn't already. I would give this thing, as I mentioned at the very beginning of my video, a 7 out of 10. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. Any help that you could give it, I would greatly appreciate. And if you're already subscribed to me, thank you so much.
So what do you think? Did you end up liking Wicked for good? Did you not like Wicked for good? Comment below, let me know. I really would like to hear people's thoughts on this, because this is an opinion I don't get too often. Well, that's all the time we have for today here on Film Stash. My name is Douglas Campbell, and if you excuse me, I gotta ride. What?
Can I please have my broom back now?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, I gotta add to the stash.